Welcome to World Peace TV. Welcome to Crazy Questions, where we ask the questions that are too uncomfortable to answer and too important to ignore. Today's question is simple, sharp, and slightly insane. Does capitalism prioritize humans? The world keeps spinning, and we, the fragile creatures riding on its surface, keep asking insane questions. Today, the question is so simple it feels dangerous. Does capitalism prioritize humans? In the beginning, there was a field. In the field, there were hands. Hands that planted seeds, harvested grain, built houses. People lived, died, and lived again through their children. Ownership was measured in calloused palms, in the memory of shared labor. But one day, a whisper arose. If you produce more than you need, you can have more than you deserve. It sounded innocent enough. The first lie rarely screams. Capitalism was not born in a grand hall or declared by a king. It crept out of trade routes, merchant cities, the first greedy contracts signed without looking into a man's eyes. It crawled into the fabric of life. Adam Smith in 1776 tried to tame it with words. It's the invisible hand, he said, would guide selfishness into collective good. As if selfishness ever needed encouragement. Smith believed in moral sentiment, the part many forgot by page 2. At first, capitalism almost looked human. It smiled at the baker, the blacksmith, the tailor. Work hard, it said, and fortune will smile on you. So they worked. Longer, harder, faster. And capitalism smiled wider. Because while humans baked bread, capitalism baked chains. When the Industrial Revolution came, it arrived not like a sunrise, but like a bomb. Suddenly fields emptied, factories rose, smoke filled the sky. Karl Marx watched children with blackened lungs stumble out of textile mills and wrote, "The worker becomes an appendage of the machine." Capitalism wasn't subtle anymore. It tasted blood, and it was hungry. It loved humans as long as they produced, as long as they consumed, as long as they stayed quiet. In London, children as young as 6 lost fingers to factory gears. In New York, women stitched shirts for 14 hours a day, only to be locked inside burning buildings. And when they died, newspapers printed tiny columns. Regrettable incidents. The factory remains open. Capitalism had no time for grief. Grief does not generate profit. Sigmund Freud uncovered the gears inside the human mind. Desire, fear, loss. Capitalism took careful notes. His nephew Edward Bernays created modern advertising. No longer did you buy soap because you needed soap. You bought soap to feel pure, successful, desirable. Capitalism had entered the bloodstream. The 20th century arrived with wars, and capitalism rejoiced. War is good for business. Guns, tanks, uniforms, all billable. Factories switched from making typewriters to making bullets overnight. Men died. Shares rose. Albert Einstein, witnessing the chaos, wrote bitterly, "The economic anarchy of capitalist society is the real source of evil." But few listened, because after war comes reconstruction. Reconstruction needs loans. Loans need banks. Banks need your soul. Meanwhile, Freud's students kept inventing new desires. You needed a bigger car, a better lawn, a shinier refrigerator. Not because you needed them, because your neighbor had them. Capitalism had discovered its final perfect weapon. Envy. Jean Baudrillard, watching the 1980s glitz, shook his head and muttered, "We live in a world where there is more and more information and less meaning." But who cared about meaning when the malls were full and the TV said you were free? Freedom. What a beautiful product, priced carefully according to your credit limit. By the time neoliberalism swept through governments in the 1980s, humans were fully optional, Margaret Thatcher proclaimed. There is no such thing as society. It's only individuals. Perfect. Individuals are easier to sell to. It's easier to blame, easier to break. Milton Friedman, the high priest of the free market, assured everyone that if corporations simply pursued profit, everyone would benefit. The rising tide would lift all boats. He forgot to mention that some people had yachts and others clung to driftwood. In the 1990s, globalization sprinted across the world. Factories moved, jobs moved, people moved into despair, into depression. Economist Joseph Stiglitz pointed out that globalization wasn't lifting everyone. It was just making exploitation cheaper. The commercials said otherwise. The commercials showed smiling children drinking soda, dancing women buying shoes, handsome men driving convertibles down endless empty highways. You were free to choose Coke or Pepsi, Nike or Adidas, credit card or second mortgage. Choice was sacred. Real freedom, optional. Psychologists like Barry Schwartz warned of the paradox of choice. The more options, the less happiness. But capitalism loved unhappiness. Unhappiness sells better. Meanwhile, the earth itself began to choke. Oceans filled with plastic. Forests fell to saws. Species winked out like dying stars. Economists like Kate Raworth begged for a new model donut economics, one that valued sustainability over blind growth. But capitalism wasn't listening. It had AirPods in. Noise canceling. Today we live in glass towers and scroll endlessly through glowing screens. We measure our worth in likes, in followers, in net worth. Our bosses tell us we're family until budget cuts arrive. Our companies say they have values until the stock price dips. Our governments say we are citizens until we become liabilities. In modern capitalism, humans matter. Right after quarterly earnings, right after shareholder meetings, right after the next brand campaign, you are free. Free to work yourself to death. Free to medicate your burnout. Free to buy your own chains. Some say capitalism is just a tool. It's a neutral system, neither good nor evil. But tools reflect the hands that wield them. And when those hands value profit over life, growth over survival, numbers over souls, then the tool becomes a weapon turned inward, against the very people who built it. Still, in the ruins, seeds of rebellion grow. Cooperatives, social enterprises, movements for ethical business, for universal basic income, for sustainability. Maybe capitalism will evolve. Maybe it will finally remember that it was meant to serve humans, not the other way around. Or maybe it will devour itself, like the ancient Ouroboros, the snake eating its own tail. Either way, the question remains. Does capitalism prioritize humans? No. But humans can choose to prioritize each other, if they remember how. And if they dare to ask the crazy questions, the world keeps spinning. The questions keep burning. Somewhere out there, someone right now is daring to wonder, is this the best we can do? Thank you for wandering through today's crazy question with us. Maybe capitalism was supposed to be a tool for human progress, but somewhere along the way, the tool began using the builder. Here at World Peace TV, we don't offer easy answers, just better questions. Stay curious, stay stubborn, and remember, the world doesn't change by staying silent. See you at the next crazy question.